Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Good morning and welcome, or good evening, depending on where you are. We're excited to have Charey Fox, not only here on the podcast, but on the Zoomcast. She's an artist, educator, guide, consultant, coach, helping you as an individual. Maybe you're a couple, your family needs some help or business. She's here to really create some amazing shifts in your life and let you realize your true potential, because we all have it. So she's the business owner and founder of TogetherSource as well. So much to tell you. Let me have her introduce herself, because she can probably say it better than I can. Charey, how are you?
Doing well. I think you said it better than I can.
No. Don't be so modest. You do a lot. So please tell us a little bit about yourself to get started.
Well, I do have a hard time sometimes explaining what I do, because people, it's kind of out of the realms of what people understand. And one of the things that I focus on is something called systemic family constellation. And systemic family constellation works with something called the knowing field or the morphogenic field. And we look and discover the stories of your ancestors, or it could be your business. It could be any number of things. It could be past lives, but we look at it from the perspective of the knowing field. So that's it.
Perfect. Well, and how can we reach you? Is your website still the same?
Yes, it's ChareyKFox.com, which is spelled CHAREYK Fox, FOX.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, I know we have an overview of what you do and you're helping so many. And for today, what did you kind of want to focus on?
I want to focus on resources. A lot of people in the world feel they feel untethered. They don't feel that anybody's there for them. And it's sort of epidemic. I find it with a lot of clients. I particularly find it with people in America, although I see people from all over the world, because we're not rooted in any knowledge or stories about our ancestors, the lands that we came from. All of our stories seem to be missing. And yet we are resourced. So I like to bring people into awareness of who's here for you. That's what I'm going to do today.
Awesome. Well, you know what? And some people don't have anyone, but maybe think a little harder, reach out. There's a lot of people that want to help, including yourself. So it's good to know you are not alone. And that's part of what you do. You collaborate, you talk to you. I mean, you become a friend to, I'm sure, a lot of your clients. Is that true?
I do. There is a certain level of love and connection that comes through me. One of the best things I do in my life is to see people and to lead groups, because I feel the best part of me emerges in that flow of connection and love. I get to really be there for others, and that touches my heart.
Beautiful. Well, how does it work to start working with you? How do you open up? How does someone, find that person? Could you share a little bit about what you do?
Well, one of the things, I do groups. I do things online, and I also do groups in person. I do a group every Monday night that's a taster of the different things I do in my practice. And people come in person, and people also come on Zoom. I also lead workshops, 1 day, 2 day, whole weekend, whole week long workshops, retreats. I go to retreats and augment other people's retreats. I'm called in to different agencies and professions particularly to help veterans, and to also help kids with attachment disorder. And essentially, if you reach out to me, I could invite you to any number of things that I do. And I also could see you privately on Zoom or in person. And when I do that, we start to look and feel what you haven't noticed around you. Mhm.
And do we also describe you as an empath too? Are you like an intuitive? How do I say the word? I don't,
Really tricky thing.
right?
Yes, I'm definitely empathic. I I I don't really tout it essentially because it could come with a lot of different woo-woo implications. And really,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, I'm just feeling what's absolutely accessible to everybody. I just happen to have some of the inside skinny about how to see and feel and perceive what everybody has available to them. I've developed it. It's been in my body. It's been my skill set. And yet I teach people to find it in themselves.
Hmm. Well, thank you. And if you are just tuning in, Charey K. Fox, that's CHAREY, kfox.com is the website. And we're talking about all the work she does that can help you as an individual, as a group, her workshops. There's a lot through her and her weekly breakthrough drop in group session. You talked about that before, but I'll let her continue. Go ahead. Just want to remind everyone, if you're tuning in, who we are talking to.
I would like to, I'd like to start with just having us do something for a moment. I would like you to just come into your center, into your body, recognize that you're in your cells, you exist in this beautiful body, which is given to you by all of life and also your parents. And just for a moment, I'm going to do this again, but just for a moment, I'd like you to tap in and ask yourself, who's here for me? And get any impression and allow that impression to be what it is. Who's here for me? Take it in, record it inside yourself. It could be a tree. It could be a pet that's passed on. It could be your grandmother. It could be your parents. It could be your ET ancestors, if that's in your belief systems, or the sun or the earth itself. It could be anything. So don't doubt what you've just experienced. I wanted to share that I've been doing this a number of years, systemic family constellation, and discovering this piece about how everything and everyone is really available to us, that we're not alone. And I saw a YouTube with a talk by Maya Angelou, and she, before a group of uh, people that had graduation class, and she said that anytime she needed it, she was going in for an interview or anything like that, she would call in her loved ones. She would call in the people that she knew, her aunties, and people that she didn't even know, her grandfather, anybody that was there for her. And she would call them in, and she would arrive with such radiance that they were like, you're overqualified. That it was just so strong. It was like it amassed her sense of wholeness and whole being, and she was supported. So I wanted to tell you that when I saw that, because I'd been practicing it through the other means of education that I've had, I started to realize this is really old. This is deep. And she was just speaking what was already deep in our system, our deepest knowing that everybody's available to us, and especially those that love us, even those that have never met us, but are in our cells. Mm-hmm.
So beautiful. And could you describe, I always like hearing a client, story or two. I know we've spoken about that, but there's new listeners, and about how you've guided someone down this path before. Would you mind? Because that just kind of can hit someone in the right spot and make us empathize and understand and see it clearer. Would you mind
Yeah,
sharing a story or two?
I do not mind sharing a story. The one that actually comes first is my own story. I'd like to share that. I had a many-year relationship with an eating disorder. I was lost in all the psychological components of obsessive compulsive eating, not eating, stressing out, trying to diet, breaking my diet, and hating myself and hating my body, and really stressing my whole entire system out and being completely consumed by that energy in my brain. And I had been learning skills, tools, insights, things that would help me. And I decided, well, I'm going to start to take this piece by piece apart. And the first piece that I decided to take apart was the obsessive need to not let food go to waste. And it was just absurd. I mean, I would be at a social gathering and I would be obsessed about the things that were left on other people's plates. It was very strange. And it seemed like it was beyond my control. So I had been learning some of this work, and I decided to just focus on that aspect. And in the middle of focusing on that aspect with a tool that I use and that I share with others, now I found myself as a man, and I was a prisoner of war, and I was hungry, I was starving, and I committed to never wasting food if I was out of this situation. And then that disappeared. I had no idea what that was. Was that a past life? Was that my mind making up a story? Is this an archetype? What is this? I had no idea, but I felt like I could let food go. The obsession was gone. I had other pieces of the eating disorder to chunk away and claim and learn from and release, but that piece was done. And I shared it with my sister, and she said, your grandfather, who you never met, used to eat everything on our plate. All of the kids' plates at the family gatherings, and he was a prisoner of war.
Wow. Ooh, I got goosebumps.
And I didn't even know it was him. I really literally thought it was a different life. So that started to open up the field of understanding about what I later came to understand about epigenetics and how the stories of our ancestors are stored in our cells. There are, I think, 14 to 17 generations at this point in research is stored in our mRNA. And so we carry their heartbreak,
DNA, their genetic, their everything, their soul. I mean, it's their every work, right? Their likes, their dislikes, their passions,
Yes. Yes. I mean, yes. And so a lot of our actions, particularly the actions that we can't figure out why this is happening to us, happens because of some allegiance in our cells to our ancestors. And so that's how I start to work with people a lot, is looking at what we have taken on that is not ours. And that doesn't mean that somebody dumped it on us. My grandfather, I never even met him, and it was in my cells to feel his pain and to carry on his commitment to not waste food. And there was a whole lot more. Later on, I found out many more things about him that I had been living. One of the things that I even discovered just a few years ago is that he lost both of his parents when he was young. And in a sense, I did too. And my father died the exact same day that my grandfather's father died. So, and at the same age, 13 years old. So there was a relive of that. And he moved from Scotland to America and lost his whole family. I moved from Michigan to New Mexico, and I didn't really lose my whole family, but it felt like it. I couldn't stay in touch. I felt like a giant ocean of like a vast ocean of of disconnect between my family and I. And when I discovered I was carrying some of his sorrow at losing family and it released, I suddenly was way more in touch with my family. I was way more connected and I felt like, oh, they've been here all along. So those things operate in our system and they're like filters, they're like screens. When I see couples, I often say, there's a lot of ghosts between you. And I don't mean that, like ghosts, but I see that they're fighting about things that have nothing to do with each other. And then I help them start to piece apart what actually is between them.
Well, this is beautiful, and I love hearing this. And I urge everyone to contact you. There's so much to discover about our past, our ancestry, and our present self. Remind us all the ways we can contact you, and we'll continue. We're not taking a break. We'll continue with our discussion. So go ahead, Charey.
Yeah, it's ChareyKFox.com. It's ChareyKFox.com. I also have been running an organization that's called TogetherSource, and that's TogetherSource.com. You could also find me there, and I'm the big kahuna there, even though I'm a very little person. And then, especially today, if anyone sees this into the future and you want a discount, I would literally give you a half price discount on my session, on some of my services. If you contact my cell phone and text me 505-991-0839, and I will, from this episode, you have to say, I saw this episode, and I will give you that half price discount.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We love it. We love, of course, a little discount can't hurt. And thank you for sharing your personal story with us. And if you are just tuning in, Charey can help you in so many ways. And did you want to discuss a little bit about TogetherSource as well? What that is exactly?
I'd love to share with you. It's been one of my deepest pet projects for 20 or 18 years, actually. I have owned a wellness center, event center, and have actually collected the buildings adjacent. So it's expanded to 4 properties in one, probably about a third of an acre in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And there has been a coffee shop, and now there's a juice bar, and there's a meeting room, which I'm in. And you can see there's a painting on the wall, makes it very groovy and cool. But it's really, we have beautiful events, and the practitioners that are here and the members there's probably 25, 30 people, many of which have been with me since the beginning, 18 years. Nobody wants to leave. I have a waiting list of people that want to rent from me because it's such a beautiful community. And people say, how do you find such good people? How do you find such great practitioners? And I go, I have no idea. I think that I'm just fortunate. So that's the place. And if you look at it, you might find something of value.
Well, I think that's possible for sure. We always love hearing these amazing stories. I've gotten to know you, personally in a sense, because we've talked quite a few times before this. But for new time listeners, could you share a little bit about how you got started in this and, all along, basically I know I have your story. Could you share a little bit about that when you discovered this was like your calling?
Yes, I was very young. And there were a lot of cool things that happened. I seemed to be a visionary from a very young age. I saw a world that I'd like to live into. And when I found out that the world that I was living in as a very young person was not the world that I saw in my mind's eye, I looked very deeply and went, well, what can I do about this? What am I here for? And I felt a lot of guidance, a lot of support. I also, there was a lot of chaos and some mental illness in my family, and some big challenges and some toxicity. And I I felt it so deeply and made a strong commitment to do whatever I could to make sure that I didn't cause harm, and that I instead of rippling something that was selfish or deteriorated respect or broke down kindness and love, I was 100% committed to creating something more beautiful. And that was a big piece. And it's taken me a bunch of years to become whole. And that's a whole journey. And I've seen all sorts of trials and tribulations. And I had a practice, but in 2011, I went to a veterans retreat with a veteran friend of mine. And I discovered that many of the things that I knew could be used in conjunction to create a dramatic shift in somebody's life. And from that point on, I had a practice that was thriving. And it's just kept growing. It's like something locked in me that I had the tools already in my hands, because I didn't have any confidence. I didn't know that I had that. And all of a sudden it was like, do this, go here. And I felt guided. And even though my personality is kind of shy and a bit of a sissy, I was pushed.
Not the Charey I know, but okay. You know yourself better. You're always so outgoing and bubbly here, but go ahead.
Yes, but I was very shy, and I still am in the sort of private places inside myself. But this super driver inside of me produces a delight and a wish for the best, and so it drives me essentially. My mission creates me essentially.
Beautiful. And I was reading before, Carrie wrote, she first met you at a PTSD retreat for veterans, and sitting in a session, she said it was a game changer, that you held a space for her like no one she's ever met. She could feel your compassion with what her heart needed to stay and heal from. And she feels like she's known you forever, which allowed her to trust you at her most vulnerable healing moments. Her courage to help people navigate through trauma is stellar. She's a cosmic blessing upon this beautiful world, and I'm honored to know her and call her my friend. That's from Carey D. I mean, that says a lot. It's cosmic blessing. I've never heard anyone describe that way. It's beautiful. So we are just about out of time here. We have a few minutes left. Did you want to share any upcoming workshops or groups, and how people, of course, can get in touch with you?
Well, this weekend, I'm doing a group that's it's called Guided Destiny. And I'm using systemic family constellation to produce an experience with everybody and bring them into an awareness of who's really there and available for them, from ancestors or guides or Christ consciousness or whatnot, and to their pets or whomever it is, so that they feel totally resourced. And we're going to work on their destiny, because you are never more fueled than by the person you're becoming. We don't create from our past, we create from our future. And that's what I bring people into. And in February, the 3rd and 4th, we're doing a day beyond time where I'm co-facilitating with a past life regressionist and doing systemic constellation, and we're doing it all together. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Check out our webpage, say hello, join her in upcoming sessions, and read some of the testimonials on the site too. Always a beautiful thing to have you, your energy, your spirit around us. Once shy girl is now so open. I could never picture you being so shy, but it's amazing, right? How life changes us, and we come out differently after all of our experiences. But just to know, no matter what we've been through, what traumas we had in our lives, it's something we can change. Our past trauma, our ancestors, we can get through that together with the help of you and our space.
Thank you, Jill. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Charey. I hope you have a fantastic day. Great getting to see you today and speaking to you as always. And again, if someone does reach out, what do they say to get that discount?
It's they just let us know that they saw this episode, and they text me at 505-991-0839, and they can get a half price on all my services.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. You have a fantastic rest of your day, okay? And we'll talk soon.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.